Good morning. Welcome to the Saturday live stream. It is Saturday, March 21st. How's it going? My name is Angela. I am a front-end developer and software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. I am fashionably late. I'm so sorry. This fashionably late thing isn't going to work for too much longer, is it? I apologize for that. I didn't used to be late all the time. Cleaning my glasses. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry about that. Thanks for hanging in there. I see that we have people in the chat. How are these looking? Yeah, these look good. Okay. I see that we have people in the chat. Codex is here. Hello, welcome. And I'm so sorry. I'm having a hard time. I'm not good at pronouncing names. I apologize for that. Shohanas. That's not the full name. Yeah, YouTube a few months ago switched from display names to usernames in the chat. And I think that makes things more complicated for me. So there's that. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm going to try to get better about starting on time. Sometimes I'm like running around, walking the dog, refilling my cup of coffee right here. Here's the cup of coffee. So I apologize for that. Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm actually really excited for today's live stream, for this weekend's live stream. I felt really good about what we came up with on, I'm sorry, I didn't even say good morning to Malik Robinson. Go Elmo is our mod in the chat. Malik Robinson, please be kind to the mod. I've got a handful of mods on this channel. You know, it's completely voluntary. Nobody has to explain to me why they're here, why they're not here. It's totally voluntary, but Malik is here like every day, and I appreciate him so much for that. He does such a good job, like just keeping the tone fast, fun, and friendly in the chat. I appreciate that. So thank you and welcome. Okay. I was really excited on Thursday where we left off. And actually, Malik is the one who suggested a few weeks ago. He said, can you do a design or like a website where you do the entire concept from the beginning, like starting with the design as opposed to showing up on day one with the design, which is what I normally do. And I thought that was a great suggestion. I had done that before, but it's been like well over a year since I did that. So this was a good time to do this again. I started out wanting to just sort of make a style guide to define some colors and some font choices and maybe some basic layout and just get an idea of what it was that I wanted to do. And it morphed very quickly into a full-fledged mock-up. Sometimes that happens. I highly suggest if you're a freelancer that you are always starting with a style guide. You're always presenting a style guide to your clients first, and you're getting a sign off on how their branding is being used, the color palette, the font choices, some basic UI. And then once you get a sign off on a style guide, then you can jump into the mock-up stage. Of course, this is not client work, what we're doing. This is a project that starts on April 1st. It's called 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript, where I'm going to stream every single day in April. We're going to ask ChatGPT for a vanilla JavaScript prompt, and I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to do the task, and it's going to be associated with the UI. We're building a website to support this project. So at the end of every day, at the end of every task, we are going to deploy this to an actual domain called 30daysofvanillajavascript.com. But before April 1st, we have to actually build this website. We have to build this, I guess, website, web app, whatever you want to call it, to actually support this project. And you know, I think maybe this could be helpful to people because I do get this question a lot. How do I practice JavaScript? What do I do? And that's such a great question. And honestly, I'm not very good at vanilla JavaScript. I am like, I've been a front-end developer for 13 years, and I am very much an intermediate JavaScript user at this point in my career, and I think I should be much better than I am. So this is an exercise for me as well, and if that could help another person who's trying to learn and trying to get better, all the better, right? So I think this is going to be a really fun project. I'm starting to get nervous. I mean, I'm not thinking about not doing it, but I am thinking to myself, what did you get yourself into? Are you going to look stupid? Are people going to think you're stupid? What did you get yourself into? I got to get over some of that. Um, yeah, I know I need to get over it, but I'll just be honest. I'm worried about that. So yeah, make sure that you come back in April. We'll come back every day to hang out with us, honestly. And do me a favor, if you're new here, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I am here generally 4 days a week, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And we just practice vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's really all this is. It's not a statement about not liking frameworks and libraries. Those things are incredibly important, and you're going to need those things to get a job, obviously. My channel is just to say, like, hey, don't forget about the vanilla stuff. Don't forget about the 3 things that the browser renders natively: HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You can build websites with just those 3 things. You don't need Node. You don't need a compiler. You don't need a package manager. You don't need a framework. You don't need a library. Those things aren't actually required to make a website. You can do this with just those 3 things. And if you have a desire to be better at vanilla, then this is what you need to do. You need to just like build a couple projects with vanilla and see how it goes. See if you like it. CSS especially, there is nothing like writing vanilla CSS to really nail down an understanding of cascade, inheritance, specificity. Yeah, I've been a Sass user for over a decade. I started learning Sass probably in, I don't know, 2012. And I wasn't good at specificity. I did not have a good grasp on inheritance. I did not fully understand user agent style sheets. So it's been a big deal for my career personally, my own professional development and growth, to switch to being an all vanilla developer for the purposes of my channel, at least, right? And one last plug. If you're on Instagram, would you be so kind as to follow me? If you want to send me a DM, that's the best place to do it. I'm a doom scroller. I'm on Instagram almost every day. I will admit, I was thinking this morning, oh, when's the last time I checked kind of that black hole of DMs? So if you messaged me there and I haven't responded yet, I'll check. I will make sure that I check this afternoon because I know that I get messages there and I want to make sure I'm responding to people. So there's that. Okay, so we're definitely going to start writing code today. I've had some additional ideas since Thursday. Two big ideas. And I have ChatGPT up here for this sort of ongoing conversation. So we pulled the color palette from this website called color-hex.com. I think I just Googled navy blue hex codes or something like that, and this came up as a Google search result. And I saw a navy blue color palette that I liked, but then I saw the teal. So on Thursday, I was thinking, gosh, I love this teal, but I do still love the navy. And I was like, well, why can't I use both? We're building 30 pages. Could we rotate through a couple color palettes, sticking with this theme where we maybe have 2 or 3 shades of said color palette? And I'm loving that it's dark with white, or I think this is just a very light gray. And we're going to test that in the browser and actually see what we like. But could we rotate through a couple different color palettes? I think that would be super fun. So the first thing I want to do, so I bookmarked this, thank goodness. Let's duplicate this because I want to find that navy color palette and maybe one other. Maybe we could have 3 that we rotate through, since this is going to be a project that essentially has 30 pages, right? Yeah. Hello. Welcome. Thank you. I thought that I said hello. Please share your Instagram username in this chat. Sure, I can do that. It's also linked in my, I think it's also linked in the description, but I can definitely share it here as well. And yeah, unfortunately, I'm on Mac. So just FYI, I think the only people who can put URLs in the chat are myself and the mods. Always practice good, observe some good security best practices. Be mindful of what you're clicking on. I don't purposely put anything malicious in the chat, neither does Malik, but use your own best judgment on the things that you click on. Subscribers are not allowed to put URLs in the chat, and I think it's important to let people know that if you sent me an email or sent me a DM with a link, I probably won't click it. I'm just going to be honest with you and let you know that I'm probably not going to click it, because I think that's important for my own security and just for observing my own best practices. So just something to be mindful of. And I think it's always good to set expectations with folks, right? Just let people know. I don't want to give you the impression that I'm going to do something that I'm not. So there's that. Okay, so let's find our navy blue. Here we go. Here's the navy. And I looked at this yesterday. There's lots to choose from. So right off the bat, I like this one here. Make this a little bigger. Yeah, I like this one here right off the bat. Lots of ads here. So speaking of mindful clicking, I'll be careful not to click any ads accidentally, because I definitely don't want to go down that road. So I like this right here. I think I'm just going to go with this right here. I like the 3 in the center. Yeah, I like these a lot. So I do have a project started, and I think I linked it down in the description. Hopefully I did. If I didn't, I will. So let's just start a style.css. And let's just, even though we're not really going to write CSS today, let's at least capture some of these color palettes. Can I just copy these? So we'll say, I'm going to say dark navy. And then I'm going to say navy. And then we have to come up with a plan for how we're going to do that. I'm thinking we're just going to put like a body class on our HTML. That's going to be the easiest way to do it. And then we'll go light navy. So there's our navy colors. Let's make sure that we are getting our teals also. And I have that pulled up here. So we used these 3 center teals. So let's capture these. So this will be dark teal. And this will be just teal. And this will be, oops. Oh, stop. Light teal. I know this is tedious, but that's the nature of the game. Oh, wait a second. These are not the right colors. Did I not? Okay, come on. Starting to get annoyed. Okay, there we go. It's tedious, but you know what? That's how it goes sometimes. Things seem a little tedious. I I think that when you do the work on the front end, it actually saves you time on the back end, right? Okay, there's our teal. So I just want to find. I'm gonna save this. Do I need to save this? I don't know. I'm going to. So now I want to find. Let's go back to color palettes. I want to find something that is more like maroon or red, which there are two things here. So let's go with maroon. And like spoiler alert, I looked at this yesterday and I kind of have an idea. I can tell you right now that I'm envisioning something that is kind of like purple, like a purpley red, like a cool tone red, right? That's what I'm envisioning. But also, I looked at this yesterday and I kind of already know that there's something here that's like red that I really like. Oh, and I like this too. I'm just noticing this Spanish raspberry. We're definitely, I'm not concerned about the accessibility for the navy colors, but we're definitely going to have to check the accessibility for the red colors because that's not a color that I use very often. This right here. So this color palette is called Wind Up on Your Own Floor Choking on Blood. There's something about that name that I really like, and these three red colors. So I'm down for using these reds. Let's check the accessibility for that because it's just add new tab to the split view. And then I think we need to, oh, you can close that. Okay, let's do this. Color contrast checker. So we'll do add new tab to the split view, color contrast checker. Look at that. Look at that. Hold please. And coding with Moen is here. Hello, welcome. I'm doing well. And I do enjoy when I get questions like this. So Leonidas, what do you think? Is AI going to push out front-end devs? No, I don't think so. And backends too. I don't think so. I don't think AI is going to push out back-end or front-end devs. I think AI is a tool. I think that the expectations are going to change, just like any new tool will change the expectations of a job. You're going to be expected to do your work a little faster, a little more efficiently with fewer mistakes. It's an incredible tool, but I just don't see any evidence that it's going to replace an actual human being. Humans still need to have conversations with their leadership teams. Humans are still the ultimate architect, the architect of the idea. AI is going to help you build it faster and quicker, but it's just not going to replace people. Also, think I heard I can't even remember where I heard this, and maybe I saw it in a reel. Think about like the vibe coding that's going on. We all kind of like laugh about that. I laugh about it because I think it's, I don't know, I think it's a little bit absurd. Even though I get it, and maybe some of the things that I've done have been vibe coding-ish, because I've definitely gotten a lot of code from ChatGPT that I didn't understand, that I plugged into something, JavaScript in particular. But think about the software that we really rely on for safety. Airplanes, heavy machinery, everything's got software in it. Your microwave has software in it. Your hearing aid has software in it. Just think about everything that's got software. The software makes the thing work, but doesn't the software also keep the thing safe? Doesn't the software in your microwave keep your microwave from exploding or radiating us, right? Do we want that stuff vibe coded? Do we want AI to be in charge of that? Sure, AI could probably do it faster and more efficiently. Do we not still want humans to be the final authority on those things, or to be doing a QA and making sure that those things are indeed safe? I'm just saying, I think the answer is yes. So no, I don't think that AI is going to eliminate developers. Now, if you're the type of developer who sits in the corner and completes tasks all day, you might be replaced. You might be replaced. If you are a developer who can go to meetings, talk to a leadership team, ask questions, contribute meaningfully to the ideas and the projects, if you're a developer who has good soft skills, knows how to communicate, knows how to talk to people, is a team player, it's going to be tough to replace you with AI. So I think ultimately it's up to you to decide which kind of developer you are. And I think it's up to you to decide if you are replaceable. Lots of developers out there sit in the corner and complete tasks. They refuse to contribute, ask questions. I don't know. We all know what kind of developer that is, or at least I definitely do. And I've never been that type of developer. I mean, can you imagine me sitting in the corner and completing tasks? At my very first job in San Diego, I worked for a WordPress agency, and it was like the McDonald's of web design. And I was given this task like 3 or 4 times, which was to build a video gallery for a client. And they kept sending it back to me saying, she doesn't like it, redo it. And I'm like, redo it how? Like, what don't you like? And they wouldn't tell me. They would just be like, she doesn't like it, redo it. And I finally, like the 3rd time they sent it back to me, I refused to do it. I said, either let me talk to this person and find out what she doesn't like, what she needs, see if she can give me an example of something that she likes, or stop giving me this task because I don't know what to do. And you just keep sending it to me and wasting my time. And my boss pulled me aside and told me that he said, we have people here who make those types of decisions. Your life would be so easy if you just did what you were told. From now on, when I tell you to do something, just do it, because your life would be so much easier. Number 1, you never told me what to do, because you just keep sending me this task telling me she doesn't like it, redo it. So you're not actually telling me what to do. And number 2, go fuck yourself. Why would I ever take a job where I just sat in the corner and did what I was told? That's not how I operate. So if I was that kind of person, if you're that kind of person, AI might take over for you, for real. If you can contribute, if you can ask questions, if you can be part of an organization where you actually communicate with people and contribute meaningfully, I'm telling you, AI is not going to take over your job. So it's really up to you to decide. Oh, and Coding with Moeen says, I just got the notification, although it's day of Eid ul-Fitr. Am I saying that correctly in my country? But I jumped into the stream as soon as I received the notification. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Of course, you can always watch the stream on replay. We respect everybody's culture and whatever it is that you celebrate in your country, and certainly I don't have an expectation that you are setting aside important days to come and watch me, but of course if you're available to, I love that you're here, so thank you. And Coding with Moen says, no, I never totally disagree with you. I mean, yeah, everybody's got a different opinion about this, right? We're all having our own experience, and taking in information based on our own experience and what we see happening around you. I think, listen, just based on my own experience, almost 13 years as a front-end developer. Certainly, I have a lot of back-end expertise as well. I can build a full-stack app. I've worked in many custom CMSs. AI is an incredible tool. It has made me faster and more efficient. It is not taking over my job anytime soon. Come on. Who's going to take over for all of this? Stop. Stop it. What's your take on AI that builds Laravel sites? I have no take on that. That's my best answer. First of all, I don't like Laravel. I think Laravel is a pain in the ass. It's not my first choice for anything. I know it's really popular and that is it just me, or is it kind of like experiencing some sort of like resurgence or comeback, or suddenly it's like popular again? I don't get that. I've used Laravel for a handful of things. Again, I think it's a pain in the ass, but that's not the kind of developer that I am. So I would never choose Laravel for anything. And I have no take on it. Again, AI is a tool that makes things more efficient and faster. But are you here telling me that AI is also coming up with the idea? AI is also the architect of the idea. What is AI doing other than spitting out code? What is AI doing other than spitting out code? Somebody opened up ChatGPT or GitHub Copilot or whatever app you're talking about that builds Laravel sites and said, hey, I need a site that does XYZ. Here's the goal. It needs to do this. A human being asked for the code. A human being asked for the code. AI didn't just say, hey, let's build a Laravel site. A human being had an idea, is architecting the idea and asking for the code. So what? What? I don't understand the question. Who cares? GitHub Copilot can generate code. ChatGPT can generate code. I'm still the person who asked for the code. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be sassy or rude to anybody asking me these questions. I'm just like giving you my honest answers. So please, I love the questions. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. So, your favorite guy number 1, what is the best resource for learning JavaScript? Okay, now you're just trolling me. The best resource is documentation about JavaScript, an idea, and a project. That's the best way to do it. So, okay. Okay, let's go back to picking our color palette. So we need to check and make sure. We need to check and see. Can we do this? Okay, there we go. So I really like these 3 shades of red. I'm not sure at all if they're going to be accessible. So let's just start with the darkest one and get a sense here. Okay, good news. That dark one, which I really do like. I really do like it. Let's see what this kind of medium red is. It's not really maroon. I really was thinking more of like the purpley maroon. I like this too. I don't think this is going to be accessible. Oh, interesting. So all 3 of these red colors are accessible. So let's just capture these 3 red hex codes. And then when we're building our site and we get everything together, we'll just use our own eyeballs to see if we like it or not, right? So I do want to see if we can find a more maroon color. So we're just going to call this dark red. I'm going to call this red. And we're going to call this light red. There we go. And okay, so let's see if we can find, I'm going to just go back. We'll see if we can find a maroon. So something that is a little more purplish, like this. I kind of like this Heather Bank. Yeah, I like this a lot. And this is leans purple. Let's test these. Yep. So that makes sense that that dark is working. And when you're choosing a color palette, one of the, oh, look at that. It passes all the way through. I love this. This could be it. When you're choosing a color palette, which I find to be incredibly difficult, choosing colors, really one of the best ways to approach this, holy shit, these are all accessible. That's amazing. I did not think that this lighter pink was going to be accessible. This is one of the best ways to sort of remove some of the like the analysis paralysis, the decision making, is just check for accessibility, because that's going to eliminate some colors immediately from being a background or a foreground or a text color, and it's going to move it from accessible to accent. So this is a great way if you have trouble with decision making like I do. I love this. Okay, so we're going to implement this too. We're going to play with some colors for sure. I still want to find something that leans a little more purple, and then we're going to move on. So let's call this, I'm going to call this dark pink, just to make sure that we have some unique names. And I have an idea about how we could do our implementation. Pink. But we're not there yet. We'll call this light pink. Okay, so now, oh, I love this. Love, love, love. Okay. So let's go back to, should we just look at let's just glance at purple. These are way too purple though. I mean, this Wildberry Wine is definitely in the family that I'm thinking of. Purple Flower Fairy Rhythm, maybe. Milk of the Boysenberry. I think this is already kind of our pink palette. Ooh, Lavender Candy. That's really pretty. I do like this. All right, well, one of the best ways to see if something is going to work. Okay, yeah. Oh, I do like it. Yes. Okay, interesting. This still passes. This still passes. I don't think this is going to pass. Yeah, so the lightest doesn't pass, but these two, okay, I have to. I'm sorry, I have to. Okay, so we're gonna do dark purple. I still don't have my maroon though. And Hakeem says, I have a question for you. I am a passionate software engineer as I am taking it as a measure in university, and I really feel that I can do something big, but when it comes, it went like diminish. So the way I'm reading this question is that you initially were really excited about it, but you are feeling a little less excited about it. Is that it? I mean, what are you working on? If you are not feeling excited about it anymore, then you're probably not working on any projects that get you excited. That's the key, my friends. If you're not feeling excited about the work that you're doing, then what is it that you're working on exactly? Because if you're just doing homework assignments or completing tasks from your job, that's one of the quickest way to kill that's one of the quickest ways to kill your enthusiasm. You need to work on your own stuff. You got to have an idea and you need to work on something that you're excited about. So, and Codex says, I have the best website for color palettes. Well, if you would like to DM me on Instagram, I'll take a look. I'm happy with the website that I'm using though. So thank you for that. If you want to send it to me, I'm happy to take a look though. So, and Leonidas says, Angela, looking into the future, what skills would you develop to stay a valuable front-end developer? Soft skills, communication. I love being remote as much as anybody, but you got to get out and talk to people. You have to learn how to communicate. You have to have good soft skills. You have to be able to talk to your leadership teams. You have to be able to ask questions if you don't understand something. You have to be able to make suggestions. If you're in a meeting, hopefully your leadership team is inviting you to meetings when they're doing their little wacky brainstorming sessions and the new things that they want to implement. Be willing to push back on those ideas using your experience about how things get implemented. Make sure that you understand your organization's users. A good example of this is that I worked for a university for 7 years. I was the manager of front-end development. The last 3 years that I was there, I was a manager. So who are the users of a university website? I think they're prospective students. That's what I think. So a lot of times I felt like we were implementing things that leadership teams wanted to see implemented. And a couple of times I had to ask my boss the question, is this for you or is this for a prospective student? Because you already went to college. So why do we need to do this for you? Is this going to help the student? So it's about understanding your organization's users and goals. So I would encourage you to make sure that you have a really good set of soft skills. Do you need to know how to write code if you're a developer? Of course you do. Yes, you need to know how to write code. But what you really need to be able to do is be a good problem solver, because you're going to be asked to do things that you've never done before. And you need to not be afraid to take those things on, and you need to learn how to solve problems. That's why ChatGPT and GitHub Copilot or whatever AI tool that you use is so important. It's a problem solving tool. But ChatGPT doesn't come up with the ideas. Your leadership team comes up with the ideas. Your product owner, product manager, whatever, they come up with the ideas, and then they come to you for the implementation. Do you know how to ask questions? Do you know how to clarify what the task actually is? Do you know who to go to if you're in the middle of building a web app and you realize that the API doesn't work quite right or whatever? Do you know who to go to in your organization to talk to that person about that and ask questions? So develop your soft skills and be a good problem solver, because technology is going to change. Libraries and frameworks, that stuff's going to change. Today or this year, it's React and Tailwind. You don't know what it's going to be next year. I'm just here to tell you, you don't know. And you don't need to know, because the whole point is, can you solve problems? Can you adapt? Are you flexible? So develop your soft skills. Learn how to talk to people. That's honestly going to serve you better than any library or framework that you sit home at night memorizing how to use. So I hope that helps. Okay. Back to it. I love the questions. I love the questions. Okay, so I'm going to dive in here to what we need to do. Unfortunately, no, I cannot stop in the middle of a stream and go check it. I will check it later this afternoon when I have time. Thank you for sending me a link. No, I'm busy now working, so I don't want to be rude. I definitely don't want to offend anybody, but I have a website for checking color palettes. We're doing just fine. We're going to continue. So, okay, here we go. So now we need maroon. We need a maroon. I mean, these are all really, really red. I think of maroon as being very purplish. So maybe we're fine. I kind of like this, but I feel like we sort of already have this. Yeah, maybe this is enough. Did we already do this? We already did Heather Bank, right? Yeah. I'm going to save this too. Okay. I think we just need to make sure all of the pinks were accessible. I think all of the reds were accessible, right? We'll double check that in the browser if we need to. Chrome DevTools will do that, but I think this is not accessible. Yeah, not accessible. And we'll double check some of our choices. But I think, why do I feel like this was maybe not accessible from Thursday? Okay. There we go. Let's close some of this out. I asked ChatGPT a couple of questions here. We'll get to those later. Okay, so we have a couple extra color palettes here. I think it would be cool to rotate some of our pages through a few different colors. So I'm excited about this. The other thing that I was thinking was this is essentially our navigation, right? These 30 days. So we'll have a mobile. It'll be off canvas with like a hamburger menu. But it got me thinking on page load for every single day, do we want to load this big, huge navigation on every single page for every single day? Or do we want to make like a sidebar? Do we want to just make the desktop view the navigation, so it would be hidden off canvas? Or do we want to make a sidebar with scrolling navigation, so we're not loading this big, huge thing and you can just see the task or the prompt? Yeah. So what I did is I asked ChatGPT this question. So here's the question I initially asked. I said, I know how to make anchors to scroll to another part of the page. Can I make an anchor to scroll a div on a page? So not the whole document, but just part of it. So if I put this in a sidebar, if we landed on, say, day 16, could this container, if it was in a sidebar, scroll to this day? meaning that it wasn't like at the bottom of a list. Do you know what I mean? Well, anyways, so here's what ChatGPT said. Short answer, not with plain anchor behavior alone. Anchors or IDs always target the document scroll, not an arbitrary scroll container. But you can absolutely get this behavior with a small amount of JavaScript and still keep your anchor semantics. Okay, so it went through a whole bunch of things and it gave me a little JavaScript here to do that. But then I was thinking about it and I sort of reframed my question. So I said, okay, so instead of actually scrolling, what if I have a div with a long list like a sidebar, and each sidebar item is associated with the page, so maybe that list is like navigation. What if an item at the bottom of the list should be scrolled to the top of the page if I'm on that page on page load? Yes, that's a different situation and it's much more doable. What you want is the main page loads normally. The sidebar itself is a scrollable div. And then on page load, the sidebar auto scrolls so the current nav item is visible or even aligned to the top. That is very normal. Given the current item, give the current item a class like active, which we're definitely going to do, and then on page load, scroll the sidebar container to that item. Okay, so I would do a nav, but that doesn't matter. And then yes, we would have a max height with an overflow. Again, it gave me a little JavaScript snippet here. And then it says that will move the sidebar so the active item is near the top. And then it suggested scroll into view is often nicer here. So we'll make sure that we look at this on MDN. Because if this is a method that exists in the JavaScript API, I would like to read the documentation. So again, if you're asking the question about the skills that developers need, don't just rely on AI. Make sure that you understand how to read documentation. You are comfortable reading documentation, especially when we think about how AI can sometimes give us wrong answers, right? The documentation, especially on MDN, is always going to be like on point and one of your best resources. Okay, so here's another snippet. One thing to watch, if you use scroll into view, it can sometimes affect the whole page if your layout is weird or you have nested scroll containers. In a simple scrollable sidebar, it's usually fine. So here's what's important, real world pattern. This is basically the pattern for documentation sidebar, table of content panels, file explorers, playlist navigation, multi-page challenge day navigation. See, ChatGPT knows what we're doing here. Its memory is getting really, really good amongst the chats. So yes, this is a very reasonable thing to do on page load. My recommendation for your kind of project, I'd probably do this. Server rendered page adds active. We're going to do that manually because this is a static website. We're going to add active to the nav item, to the current nav item. Sidebar has overflow Y auto. JavaScript runs on load and scrolls active item into view. That keeps it simple and very vanilla. A nice detail, if you want the active item a little below the top. Okay, so it's just telling me how to do an offset. So so this makes me think that we need to make sure we actually need to build this as a sidebar. So I'm not going to redo the mockup. And I'll go ahead and code it like this. And we're going to make the desktop sort of like a pseudo mobile view. I have an idea in my head of how to do it. So we're going to do it. So I'm just saying, stay tuned for that. It's going to be fun. I promise you it's going to be fun. So, this is somebody that I haven't seen in a while. Nano Akia likes my color palette. How are you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. I'm happy to have you. I think about you occasionally. What happened to Nano Akia? I'm so happy that you dropped in. And Leonidas says, yeah, codecs, don't be please don't be offended. Sometimes I just have to have boundaries over what I'm willing to do. So, I promise you, if you DM'd me that link, I'll take a look at it. So thank you for continuing to hang out. And Leonidas says, are you working on the website mockup in Figma or Photoshop? So I'm actually using Affinity Photo, which is now Affinity Suite. It's owned by Canva. It is free if you want to use it. I'm using the previous paid version. It is a Photoshop competitor because I'm kind of sick of Adobe. So I'm using Affinity. You can use anything you want. I am tool agnostic. I don't have a preference. I like using whatever is cheapest and easiest. And right now for me, that's Affinity Photo 2. And Nano Kyo says, sadly, depression is my enemy. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. But thank you for joining me. Listen, I don't mind telling people that I go through it too. It's like, listen, it's not a contest. I'm not here to tell people. I'm not here to say that I am more or less anything. I go through it too, if that makes a difference. In fact, I feel like I was going through it for a few months here, and I'm kind of coming out of it. So for me, happens a lot during the winter, especially being trapped inside when it's cold and there's lots of snow. That has a huge impact on my mental health living in Minnesota, but also I am prone to the depression myself. So I understand. But I'm so happy that you're here because I do think about you. I do think, like, what happened to Nano Kia? So I'm happy to see you, my friend. And honestly, streaming really helps me get through some of my tough times too. So if that makes a difference. The world is a big uncertain place right now. And we're all just figuring it out, right? We're all figuring it out. So, okay. So what do we think about actually starting to write some HTML? Are we ready for that? I think we are. So let's keep in mind that and Terry Murray's here. Terry's here too. Hello, Terry from Toronto. Happy to have you. Always. I love all my friends in the chat. Okay. If I don't respond to chat messages for a little bit, please don't be offended because I want to dive into some focus. In fact, I'll put the focus prompt. I'm going to put the focus prompt in the chat so people know. People know why I'm not responding, but I promise you I will respond after a little bit of focused work time. So we asked ChatGPT on Thursday, hey, how should we structure this? And basically what I was thinking is day one would be essentially the home page of the website, right? So the root URL, meaning the URL is just going to be for day one, 30 days of vanillajavascript.com. And then beginning on day two, it would be 30 days of vanillajavascript.com/day2, or however we decide that we're going to structure that URL. So with that in mind, day one is going to be the home page. Let's also start like a little kind of a QA document here, because I have other questions for ChatGPT, like QA. I have questions. So number one, what am I styling for? Because I don't know what the prompts are yet. So I'm thinking that my original idea was that every day I would ask ChatGPT for a prompt, but I want the majority of that time spent working on the JavaScript and not doing a bunch of styling. So we have 6 days before technically we have 7 days, but 6 days minus our deployment day to get this site up and running and ready to go, which is plenty of time. So I think we need to ask ChatGPT for some kitchen sink HTML. So we're styling elements that are kind of ready to go for us as we're writing JavaScript. Do you know what I mean? So we need kitchen sink HTML. Should we ask ChatGPT for the first 10 prompts? So should we just ask ahead of time what these first 10 prompts are? Now, I'll be honest, part of that is so maybe offline I could do a little bit of reading on MDN. Like I could offline not get the answer ahead of time, but that I could study offline reading the documentation. Is that cheating? I'm making the rules here. So is it possible to cheat at something that I made the rules for to begin with? I don't know. I don't think so. I think it would be nice for my own sanity and my own insecurity to at least know what the prompt is ahead of time. Do find maybe the method or the part of the JavaScript API on MDN and be at least able to read the documentation prior to the stream so I'm not completely going in blind. What do we think of that? I would like to do that, and to me that just seems like good preparation. Yeah. Thank you. Making life easier is never cheating. I agree. And the whole point of this is about reading documentation. So if I could at least start the stream, open up the documentation, and say, hey, this is the documentation. This is how I understand it. Here's the prompt. Let's see if we can get this to work together. That's how I'm thinking of approaching this. So let's ask these questions now, because I do think that we're going to need some kitchen sink HTML also. Okay, so I'm just going to say, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking. It would be good to get the first 10 prompts so I can read the MDN documentation before each day's stream, so I can do some preparation. Not coding before I start the task. Can you give me the first 10 prompts? But also, I think I need some kind of kitchen sink HTML for those prompts, so I have elements styled ahead of time. That way, most of the time is spent on JavaScript, not on CSS. Some CSS, but not all. Thoughts? Let's see what they say here. Yes, that is exactly the right move. I mean, I don't know. ChatGPT, I love ChatGPT, but I do feel like it's blowing smoke up my ass like 50% of the time. For a project like this, you do not want to burn stream time rebuilding buttons, cards, forms, alerts, tabs, counters, modals, and containers over and over. A shared HTML CSS starter gives you consistent styling, faster stream starts, more time spent on JavaScript, a cleaner series identity. I would treat this like a component playground shell. Then each day you either reveal only the section needed for that prompt or load a page that already has the needed markup stubbed in. That keeps the focus where it belongs. My recommendation, build one reusable starter with headings, text blocks, buttons, form fields, checkbox, radio select. Okay, I was thinking about doing form elements, cards, alerts, modals, tabs, accordion items, counters, counters, stat boxes, progress bar, image placeholder, list markup, toast area. What's a toast area? Dialogue area. Well, we're doing a pre-formatted code area with Prism. Then each day's challenge is mostly selecting elements, wiring events, toggling classes, updating text content, syncing state, handling keyboard interactions where appropriate. That is a much better stream format than, okay, first let's build the whole layout. First 10 prompt ideas. I picked these to ramp up naturally. They start simple, but they're still real enough to feel like proper mini projects. Number 1, button counter. Build a counter with increment, decrement, and reset buttons. So JavaScript focus, query selector, add event listener, updating text with text content, simple state variable, conditional class changes for positive, negative, zero. Nice extras. Disable decrement at 0, change label color based on value, add step buttons like +5. Character count, text area limit. Okay. FAQ accordion. Build an accordion where clicking a question opens its answers. I have done accordions before, but I don't think they've been accessible, but I've done it. Yeah, with 4 each, classless toggle. Okay. Modal dialogue. We've done modal dialogues a couple times here. Open and close a modal using buttons and overlay click. I can totally do that. Key down. Okay. Tabs component. Create a tab interface where clicking a tab shows its panel. Toast notification system. Click a button to show a toast message that disappears after a few seconds. What does that mean, toast? Like a little celebration, like a little confetti celebration? I don't know what that means. Like cheers, toast? Is that what that means? Click a button to show a toast message that disappears after a few seconds. JavaScript focus, creating elements, injecting content, timers, removing DOM nodes. Okay, filterable list. Make a list of items that filters as the user types in a search field. This is day 7. This feels aggressive. Getting nervous. Theme toggle. Okay, we just did this. Theme toggle. We just did this on responsive video gallery, so this will be easy. Add a light dark mode toggle and save the choice. We did that with a session cookie. Okay, form validation states. Build a small contact form with basic client-side validation. We have done this too. Submit event, prevent default, checking empty fills, showing inline errors, success state. Nice extras. Email format check, focus first, invalid field, clear errors on input. Feels aggressive. I'm getting nervous. Simple task list. On day 10, really? Create a task list where users can add on day 10? Okay. Okay. Okay, we can do this. Reusable kitchen sink HTML starter. This is not meant to be the final markup for every day. It is a starter playground with enough UI pieces to support the 10 projects. The first 10 projects. Excellent. That's what I want. Okay. Well, hang on. I'm not going to copy this whole thing. Okay. It's, okay. How I would actually use this, I would keep one global style sheet, one starter HTML reference file, one per day page template. Then for each day, only include the relevant section. Okay, yeah, I can handle that. Best workflow. Read the MDN topics tied to that prompt. Copy in the section markup you need. Make sure CSS is already good enough. Yeah. Start the stream with the problem statement. Solve mainly the JavaScript. That's a strong format. My only caution: do not overbuild the starter. You do not need a giant design system before day one. You need, yeah, okay, got it. Okay, let's see what the chat says. One moment, hold please. Leonidas, do you think it's worth learning the framework Angular, or will React be the only popular choice for front-end jobs in the future? So I've never used React. I have used Angular and Vue. I really, really like Angular. I've worked on like a couple, I've built like 2 full stack apps with Angular, worked on a couple Angular apps. I really like it. We used Vue at my last job. I don't think you should attach yourself to a framework. I obviously React is like the it girl right now in front end land, right? So it's, if you know React, you are definitely, I think, hireable. Listen, frameworks and libraries come and go. Um, I think you should what learn whatever you need to know for the person who's signing your paycheck. Number one. The reason I got into Vue is because where I worked, we used Vue. So that's what I poured all my energy into. And nobody needed me to learn React. So I didn't sit at home learning React. Nobody asked me to do it. So I do whatever you're getting paid to learn is my best advice. But of course, if you're learning for the sake of learning, which I know a lot of you are, for sure, learn whatever is going to get you hired at a job. Frameworks and libraries are going to come and go. The best skill that you can develop right now is being adaptable and learning how to solve problems quickly, and being willing to take on new things that you haven't done before. And again, learning quickly. Just be adaptable. That's my best advice. No one is here. No one is also a mod in the chat. Welcome, my friend. I'm glad you're here. And he says, I'm not going to lie, depression is also my biggest enemy right now. Yeah, I think honestly, I've sort of accepted depression as part of the human condition, for me at least. Um, yeah, sorry to hear that. I always am sorry to hear that people are struggling. I think for myself, I have to make sure that I'm getting up every day and taking care of myself and taking care of Heidi and continuing to work. And those are the things that really help me get through it. A lot of it has to do with weather. A lot of it has to do with, I mean, I'm always like over evaluating my life. Have I made the right decisions? Have I made good life choices? Should I have done this 25 years ago? I don't know. That stuff isn't necessarily productive for me. I just try to get up and put one foot in front of the other. Some days are good days and some days are kind of rough days. I'm going through a good time right now, I have to tell you. It helps that we're crawling out of winter here in the Midwest, and the weather's nice, and I'm getting a little bit of sunshine, and and I are outside moving our bodies, getting a little exercise. That definitely helps me. So I hope that I know that is not a cure for depression, but it's what works for me. So yeah, React is the go-to for so many, but Angular is good to know. I'm doing really well. I'm glad that you're here. Christian Codes is here. Christian Codes is also a mod in the chat. He has a channel here on YouTube. He streams like every day, sometimes twice a day. He is absolutely a beast. He is killing it. And he says, I've had tons of success with code related inquiries when using Claude. People kept telling me to try it, and now I use it every day. Trust me. Unsolicited advice. I know I'm bad at trying new things. Should we try to? I feel like I've already started with ChatGPT. I'm bad at starting new things, but I love the advice. It's absolutely okay that you're giving me advice. So, and I think this is in response to what the hell is a toast? It's the notification you usually get in the top right or bottom right for a few seconds. Oh, so literally it's just like I'm thinking of like some sort of gamified app where if I do something, it's like a little burst of fireworks. Literally, I was thinking of confetti and champagne glasses toasting. Like, am I supposed to build some sort of animation? But literally, it's just a notification that appears and disappears. I'm thinking LinkedIn, right? The toast that you always have to dismiss on LinkedIn. Leonidas says, which type of website is the hardest for you to build? Honestly, anything with a ton of JavaScript, because I'm very UI focused and I struggle the most with JavaScript. So, Codex says ChatGPT has this habit of being really nice to you and agreeing with everything you say. It's programmed to make you feel good. Yeah, totally agree. I always feel like it's just telling me that I'm smart and pretty every single day, even though I'm not feeling that way. I'm like, how do you know? How do you know, ChatGPT? Codex says, next time you use ChatGPT, use this. You're my ruthless mentor. Don't sugarcoat anything. If my idea is weak, call it trash and tell me why. Your job is to test everything until I say it's bulletproof. That works. All right, well, listen. Okay. Here's the thing, though. Even though sometimes I think it's just telling me what I want to hear, sometimes it's the only thing saying something really nice to me. And I do need that on some days. I do need ChatGPT to tell me that I am smart and pretty and making all the right life choices. So I don't want ChatGPT to be too ruthless. So I'm definitely walking a line. I'm definitely walking a line with ChatGPT. I don't want it to just constantly tell me something that isn't exactly true, but also I like it when it says nice things to me. So there is a setting in the options to change her persona. Yeah, I've done that before. I have done that before. Let's see here. I don't know if I want to reveal that, but let me see if I can find it here quick. I think ChatGPT has changed a lot since I've done anything with the settings. Personalization. Okay. Base style and tone. Set the style and tone of how ChatGPT responds to you. This doesn't impact ChatGPT's. So there's default, professional, friendly, candid, quirky, efficient, cynical. I can show these. And I mean, these are the instructions that I gave it initially. The tone should be casual but direct. I'm not always right, so please tell me when I should consider another idea. Please don't end a conversation by asking if you can implement an idea related to the conversation. If I need something, I'll ask for it. So these are custom instructions that I gave ChatGPT about a year ago. Remember when ChatGPT would end every conversation with a question? That was annoying. So base style and tone. I feel like this is new. Quirky, absolutely not. Cynical, critical, and sarcastic. No, please don't hurt my feelings. I don't want you to be too efficient. Candid, direct and encouraging, friendly, warm and chatty. Do we want candid or do we want friendly? I don't want you to be too chatty because if I'm in a bad mood, you're just going to be annoying. Let's go with candid. Okay, so characteristics, warm, more, or less. Let's just go with default. Enthusiastic. I'm going to go with a little less. Headers and lists. Use clear formatting and lists. More paragraphs instead of lists. I'm going to go with more. Emojis. We can go with default. Default is fine. So yes, the memory has gotten better on ChatGPT. Reference chat history. Let ChatGPT reference all previous conversations when responding. Yes, but not necessarily in a live stream. Let's just go with this for now. We'll just go with this for now. Okay. No one says, for me, testing a website is the hardest part for me in my job where I am working. I have to test websites sometimes end to end. Yeah, I don't love QA, but QA is for sure really important. I don't think I can do this. I have to tell you, I don't think I can do the ruthless mentor. More power to you. If you can do that, I want ChatGPT to be honest, but I still want it to tell me that I'm smart. So, yeah. Okay. So, let's all right. So we'll use the main. We'll come back and use the main, but we have to actually we need to start writing some code here. We're getting a little bit behind. But okay, so let's just start with an index.html. And this is 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. And we're going to put in some open graph meta tags. I'm not going to worry about it now. We'll go ahead and link our style sheet. And we'll do a global script.js, but also every day is going to have its own JavaScript file also. So we'll do script with the defer tag, script.js. Let's go ahead and grab our fonts. Even though we're not really going to write any CSS today, let's just at least grab the link. We're using Oswald. And this is a variable font, so it doesn't really come with styles, or it doesn't really come with values. We're doing the full axis, and we can really define any weight between 200 and 700, which I think is kind of wild. That's new to me. But it seems to be the new way that it is being done. So then we'll just put this here. Just so we have that. All right. Well, you know what? Let's just go grab our open graph meta tags now. So I'm going to go to GitHub. And we did open graph meta tags for the first time on, was it here? Was it the coffee website? No. I think it was the Scenic website. Yes. And we'll copy that description as well. So we'll make sure that we'll make some decisions here, but we need to make sure that we're doing open graph meta tags. We want to make sure that everything is shareable, which also makes me think, should we include social sharing links on each page? Because we wrote code for that. We wrote JavaScript for that back on the Scenic website. Right here, sharing icons. We could definitely do that. I mean, we want to make this as SEO friendly as possible. I want it to be a resource for new developers, or just anybody who's, looking for a way to learn JavaScript and who may appreciate this type of approach. So let's put that on our QA document. Should we include social sharing icons? What else was I thinking? Remember to update open graph meta tags per page. The other thing I was thinking we should do is structured data, which we've never done here before. Structured data. We'll keep that on the list. But structured data is like a JSON snippet that helps browsers read what's going on the page, but it's also really good for getting your content into platforms like ChatGPT. ChatGPT can read what's going on that page if it's got like a little JSON structured data snippet. So that's something we should, honestly, it'd be a good idea to include that. Helps browsers, helps search engines, helps AI, things like ChatGPT, AI, what do you call it, like an engine? Yeah. So we could definitely come back and get something like this too. Okay, well, we don't need this now. And if we have more questions, we can add them. So the first thing I do is I start with the header, with a class of header, a main with a class of main, and a footer with a class of footer. So let's just go ahead and, this is going to be our kitchen sink. Okay, we're going to have to delete some of that. That is fine. Okay, stop. This is what I want. All right, so here's our kitchen sink stuff. I might change some of these things. Although it's not that big of a deal. They did a good job. ChatGPT did a good job naming things. Gave us a little lift, a little heads up here with some of our accessibility items too. What's going on here? feel like some of the formatting is a little weird. Okay. Okay, I feel like some of our formatting is a little weird, but I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, let's just dive into our header. So we have an SVG first. Let's grab our SVG. I feel like I'm all thrown off here because I didn't write some of that markup myself. But that's not the point. The point isn't markup. The point is JavaScript. So SVG, we're going to say aria hidden true. I think that we do want to make sure that we have we have an H1. Our page H1 is going to be here, and we do have a header inside our main. So that I know that that's fine. That's not usually how I do it, but I know that semantically this is correct. I do feel like we need to read out the logo. Do we need to read out some text to the logo? I feel like we do. So let's just do class. We'll do screen reader only. We'll say 30 days of vanilla JavaScript because it's just our logo and that's fine. And then let's put, and we'll give this a class of primary logo. And then we have social media icons. So we'll just do nav with the class of social nav. And I'm going to make this an unordered list. And I'll give this a class of, you know what? I'm not going to give it a class. I don't think it needs a class. We can make sure that we're using, yeah, I will. Social navigation. I'm going to give this, I'll just say social nav. And then we'll do a list item with anchor elements. I'll come back and fill those in. And then we want to span with a class of screen reader only. And what's the first one? YouTube. And we'll make sure that this is aria hidden true. And then we want LinkedIn. My least favorite of all the social medias, but somehow the most important. I don't know how that happened. Is it though? Is it the most important or is it the most depressing? All right. Instagram, my favorite. I mean, I don't know. I have days with Instagram where I'm just like, what's happening here? And then I have other days where I'm like, yeah, I enjoy this. This is entertainment to me. You're keeping me occupied. right. And then GitHub. Yeah, I think if you're a developer, GitHub's definitely important, right? I love having a GitHub. And the longer I do it, the more I like it. Because it makes me look like I'm actually doing something. GitHub. Okay. So there's our social media, social navigation. That's really it for our header, right? And then we've got this header. So I had a different idea for this. I was going to do, and this is, I feel like I asked ChatGPT about this on Thursday, and it agreed with me. I was going to do something like this. Can I put a div inside an H1? I think I can. I put a div inside an H1. No. I'm glad I asked. But we can just we'll do a span. I only said div because I was thinking block level element. We'll just do a span. That kind of makes sense because you cannot put block level elements. You can't put divs or other block level elements inside paragraph tags. Yeah, but I need something around the 30 days of vanilla JavaScript because I'm going to change the display of the span. A span by default is a display inline. I'm going to change it to a block level display, which will move this to the second line. And then I can make this a little bit bigger, but the whole thing should be an H1. And so let's give this a class. And this is going to be the page title. And then here's our page intro. Love it. So this is going to be basically like our prompt, right? This is going to be our prompt for the day. And then we will jump into our section. I love this. Okay, now we have several sections. So we're going to spend the next several days just styling these sections. So how many sections are there? Well, there's probably 10 because we asked for 10, right? So let's just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. All right, no problem. And then we have a footer. So the other thing that I think that I want to do is I want to make an about section that just explains what the project is and just a little about something about me and my idea for this project. Yeah, put a span tag. So thank you for that. And Leonidas, hang on. I'm going to get to your question. I am going to get to your question. So inside the wrap, let's do another section. And I'm going to give this a class of about me. And I'm going to do an image on the left. So we'll do figure with the class of figure. And I don't actually have an image. Let me grab one. Let me grab one. One moment here. image folder here. Not going to be a ton of images, but here, we'll do this one. I don't really use this very often, so. All right, so this is just a profile image of yours truly. It's not super well optimized, but I will probably switch it out. We just need to get something in here. And, oops. Profile image / headshot. Oh, I probably should say what of. And then we'll just put we'll give it a class of about description. I'm just going to put some lorem ipsum text in here. And then we'll go ahead and style this down at the bottom of the page, right before the footer. Or should it be part of the footer? If it's going to be on every page, should it just be part of the footer? I can put a section inside a footer, right? Yeah, because I can put an aside inside a footer. Is it better to put a section or an aside inside the footer element? It's generally better to use a div or simply place content directly inside a footer for standard links and copyright information. Use an aside inside a footer only if the content is tangential to the main document, such as related posts. Avoid section for styling alone. It's for thematic content. So I think actually use this for complementary content like an author bio, okay, pull quotes, or a related links widget. Let's use an aside because that's exactly kind of what this is. It's going to be like an author bio. When to use section, use this only if the footer is very long and has clearly distinct named thematic parts. Contact info versus legal stuff. When to use aside, use this for complementary content like an author bio, pull quotes, or a related links widget that isn't part of the core page. It should be tangential, not essential. Okay, just define this. Just define this word for me one more time. Relating to or along a tangent, diverging from a previous course or line, hardly touching a matter okay. We're going to go with aside, but I am going to put this inside the footer since it's going to appear on every page. That makes sense to me. We like to be semantic. And then I'm just going to do a paragraph tag. We'll give this a class of copyright, and I'm just going to say copy, right? We'll do a little span. I'm going to give this an ID of year, and then we'll write a little JavaScript to fill that in dynamically. And we'll do a little copyright symbol. Give a little bullet. Oh, and this is going to be a link. Yeah, this is actually a good idea. We could do a title. It was a little sloppy. I'll admit it. It was a little sloppy. And then headshot of. There we go. Yeah, I like it. So we really let ChatGPT do a little bit of the, a lot of the work on the markup. I'm actually fine with that. Because now we get to spend, because look at how much time I spend thinking about markup and Googling things like, can I put a div inside an H1? Imagine if I had to do all the markup too in order to write JavaScript that I don't even know how to write. So let's just let ChatGPT give us a little assist on this part of it with the markup. And then we know now ahead of time what our prompts are going to be. So I can do some reading of the documentation and have that stuff open and ready to go. And then we're going to spend the next, well, I guess it's the next 5 or 6 days now, just styling all of these sections. I'm not going to get in, I don't think I'm going to get into the styling. Well, we could do a little bit of styling. We don't, you know what? Let's just try to get some basic page styles in. How about that? And let's do a commit. Let's just do a commit so we can have some breakpoints here. So we'll do git. I always check the status first. So we'll do git, add, git, commit, markup for the project, git push, origin, main. Let's see here. I think I have this linked. In the description. I'll go ahead and put it in the chat. And then let's just start writing a little bit of beginner, a little bit of global CSS. We have our style.css here. So we're going to just really dig into styling tomorrow, but we're also going to want to create some folders and prep our first, maybe our first 10 prompts. Yeah. Yeah, and before we do any of that though, we need to have like a plan for how we're going to have different colors. So if our first page is going to be teal, ideally, I just want to have a body class that says teal. And then I was going to use sort of our mid color as the background and then our other colors for a header and footer. But I also wanted to play a little bit with gradients. But let's just start with this. So I think for teal, let's call teal our base style. Well, let's start with some HTML, and we're gonna say box sizing box sizing border box. And I am going to put in, hang on, what am I thinking of? Bear with me. I'm drawing a blank here. Scroll behavior smooth. Because we might do some scrolling. Scroll behavior smooth. And then we'll do some wildcards. Before and after pseudo elements. We're going to say box sizing inherit. And then we'll start with the body. So I think on the body, we want to make sure that we're setting some default colors. So let's make sure that the default colors are teal. So if we forget to set a body class, we've got a backup. So we're not styling every single body class relying on a body class. We're not styling every page relying on a body class, right? Yeah. But we'll include teal as a body class. So I'm going to say padding 0. These are just the default styles that I like to include. Margin 0. Let's get our fonts in here. Font weight, we're going to set 400 as the default font weight. Line height 1.65. That's the line height that I like to use. Line height is meant to be a unit list value. The browser will read a unit. So if you put in rems or pixels, the browser will honor that, but it's really meant to be unitless. So that's a multiple of your font size. That's the amount of space in between each line. I'm going to say color. I'm going to go with white. Oh, we didn't define our other colors. So let's do that now. White. I am going to define a black. I don't think we're going to use it, but I'm going to put it in. And I usually do 222. And then let's do a light gray. I like to do this as a light gray. And then just like plain gray. It's also kind of a light gray. Oops. Again, these are just styles that, these are just colors that I like to use. I don't know if we're going to use the black or the gray. We might use the light gray, but I'm going to put in, I used light gray for our text color, but it looked a little, it didn't look quite right to me. So I'm going to put in white and we'll just see how it goes. We can play with that. And then we need to put in a background color of, and I'm going to just set teal as our default background color. What else? That's usually it. Let's add Normalize. It's kind of a browser reset. Normalize isn't as big of a deal as it used to be. I think the browsers, for the most part, are all pretty similar, but they do have some differences. Normalize isn't like a hard browser reset, but it does sort of smooth out behavior and styles between the browsers. I still like to use it. You can decide for yourself if it's something you want to use. Back in the day, I used to go through Normalize and make a bunch of changes, and I don't anymore. I just put it in, and I don't really worry about it. That's just my approach. So go ahead and, whoops. right, there's our normalize. And this is a good comment. I think green text looks better with a teal background, but it's not accessible is the problem. So if we were to use like the dark green color as a text with the green, I don't think that's accessible. Should we double check? Did we check that? Let's double check it. If it's not accessible, I don't do it. And for somebody like me who has a really hard time making decisions when it comes to colors and implementing colors, I let accessibility guide me and do some of the decision making for me. Let's see here. Okay, well, let's just grab some of these. So let's try the dark teal. Well, we'll put the normal teal as a background. And then the dark teal as the text color. Yeah, it's not accessible is the problem. So what if the dark teal was the background and the light teal? Yeah, see, even with the darkest color and the lightest color teal, this is not accessible. It fails the color contrast, so that's why we can't do it. But that, that's a good question, right? Because I don't, well, the older I get, the more I need my glasses. But when it comes to color contrast, I can see this. Me personally, I can see this. I don't think it's ideal, but I can totally see it. But imagine somebody who was colorblind or had low vision. We really need to make sure we're following the accessibility guidelines around color contrast. So I'm glad that you brought that up and you asked that question so we could talk about that a little bit. And I guess we can, it's not going to look very good. So let's rein in some of our SVGs here. We'll do some global styles. So first of all, I usually do figure. Browser always adds margin to a figure, so I take that off, and then we'll make our images accessible. So I'm going to say max width, or excuse me, responsive, 100%, height, auto. This will probably end up changing, but, and then SVGs by default are inline elements. I always change the display property to display block. That really helps with styling. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to change the width and the height to 3 rems, which does equal 48 pixels by 48 pixels. So it's just going to kind of rein in our document there. Look, it already looks better. And kind of get this document under control. And obviously this will end up changing. These are just some global styles to kind of rein things in. So, and then the other thing that I like to do is in our SVGs, I don't see it so much now, but there can be inline styles. I actually don't see any right now. If you want to know if your SVG is a fill or a stroke, this is what I like to do. I will do fill red, and I will do stroke blue. Whoops. And I can see that everything here is red, which means that everything has a fill. And you can see here that this yellow, so we do have some inline styles in our main JavaScript SVG, which we want. So it says here, fill, this must be the yellow color. And then the stroke for this, what is the stroke? We'll just set that. This is the one thing I'm going to set to be an inline style. So this path is a fill. So let's just put that in line. I think I can just do this. Fill. I guess black, right? There we go. So this is the one SVG where I want the inline styles. I don't want my global SVG styles, but if you're just trying to figure out, like, how do I style this SVG? Is it a fill? Is it a stroke? This is the quickest way to do it. And then obviously these styles were changed. Now I'm going to leave these here because then sometimes as I'm going through my document styling things, I see something that's red or blue and I'm like, oh, we need to style that SVG. And I am the type of person who likes to have control, absolute control over my SVGs. So, okay, there we go. And why is this? Okay, there we go. Nice. Okay, what else do we need to do? Buttons. You can say button appearance none. I personally don't like to do that. So I'm just going to say border none, background color transparent. Buttons by default are display inline block. We can leave that for now. So you can see here that these buttons all changed. That's fine. And then also I'm going to take the padding off of these buttons. There we go. What else do we want to do? Anchor elements. So what do we want our links to look like? Well, we don't even have our, you know, we missed a huge part of our markup, didn't we? So here's the header. Hang on. Where do we need our navigation to be? Probably right here. So it would be the title. We would have like a little blurb here of what the prompt was. And then this is our nav element, which we're going to style as a sidebar with fixed positioning. So let's just put it right here. Nav, the class of navigation. And this is going to be an unordered list with the class of main nav. And these will be list items. I think we can do, forgive me, my Emmet is rusty. List item with an anchor element times 30. I know that there's a more efficient way to do this, but this is how we're doing it. So day one. What are we doing? Okay, so we have a button counter, day one. Heidi, day one, button counter. And then we've got day two, character count, text area limit. Okay. Day two, character count, text area limit. FAQ accordion. Some of these I absolutely know how to do. We've done these already, so I'm excited. Some I'm like, ooh, I don't know. Modal dialog. Okay. Day 5, tabs component. Day 6, toast notification system. Day 7, filterable list. Day 8, theme toggle. Day 9, form validation states. Whoops. Day 10, simple task list. Okay, so I'm actually, just for styling purposes, we'll come back and update this. Did I get that right? I think so. Okay. So there's our navigation. So day 1 is going to be class active. We're not going to use JavaScript for this. That's not difficult to do at all, to look at the URL of the page and put an active class on. But this is a static website, so there's no reason why we can't just set the active class based on the day that we're on. The day 1 is going to be the home page, so I'm just going to put in a slash for the root, and then I think the structure that we will use moving forward for our folders would just be day-02, and then day-03, and then inside each folder we'll have an index.html and a script.js. So there will be two script.js's. We might want to give the one inside the folder a different name. So maybe inside the folder, no. So maybe inside the folder we say day02.js. So we've got a global script.js for things like our navigation and like the global scripts. We're only going to have one CSS file, so we're not going to have multiple CSS files, but every day should have its own JavaScript file. So does that mean that the home page should have its own JavaScript file, or can we just use the global script file for the home page? I'm not worried about that right now. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So this is going to be our naming convention for the navigation. So this would be /day-02/ and then it's going to read the index.html. I mean, honestly, we should probably make sure that we're also doing canonical meta tags. That's a good point, because now that I'm building more complete websites, honestly, even for a landing page, technically every page has 2 URLs, right? It's the directory minus index.html, and then it's the directory plus index.html. So we should probably start doing meta canonical canonical tags. I'm going to add this to the list. Yeah, that's probably it. We'll dive a little deeper into this here as we continue building, but that's, I've thought of that in the past. So so slash day dash 0 so this is 4 5 6 7 8 9 day 10. Okay. Yes, I think this makes sense. Can I duplicate this? Yeah, this is just going to be tedious for a second. Sorry about that. Because that's how it goes. There we go. We have our first 10 folders set up. I don't have an index.html in there yet. That's okay. We don't need that now. Let's once we finish this, we'll make sure that we copy it in. But we have a good base going, right? We don't need this right now. Okay. Okay, so I think I got this far when I realized I didn't have any navigation markup. Here's our navigation markup. So let's style some link styles. So I think that I want links to be indicated by an underline. That's also going to be our active style. So our focus, hover, active, pseudo classes, and the active class, which is like a state that we define, they're all going to look the same. So the color's already white. We'll say color. That's okay. We can do that. No, I think we need to do that. It's going to be blue by default. Okay, Angela. You've done this before, Angela. So the text decoration color is also going to be white. Text decoration thickness, I'm going to say 2 pixels. And text, what is it? Offset? Underline offset is going to be 3 pixels. And we can adjust that if we need to. And then let's do a transition for the text decoration color. Text decoration color. And 300 milliseconds, ease in out. And then we're going to say anchor element with a class of active. So that's like a state that we define. But then we also want pseudo elements, or excuse me, pseudo classes. So we're going to do anchor focus. Focus always comes first. Anchor focus, anchor hover, and then anchor active is going to be text decoration color transparent. Text decoration color transparent. Okay, so this is a very good general set of global styles. It's not exhaustive at all. We're definitely going to add more. And I think this is probably a good place to stop for today. We got a lot done today. We got a lot done today. Let's commit this and get this pushed up to Git. So I always check the status first, and that is to make sure that I know what branch I'm on, even though there's only one branch. So we'll go ahead and add everything. Git add, git commit. And we starting the CSS and creating the folders. And we'll push that. All right. We got a lot done today. We got a lot of stuff figured out. And we have a nice little kind of QA checklist going here. Yeah, I'm happy with this. This is good work for one day. Tomorrow, I really just want to dive into styling. I really want to, navigation especially. I think the navigation's going to be fairly straightforward. Famous last words. We'll see how it goes. Let's see what's happening in the chat. Go Elmo Go says, quick update. I decided to stop being scared and dive into the development side of my internship. Next week, I will get invited to the GitHub and I will get my first task. Well, it's about gosh darn time. You should be doing more development work. And it's okay to be scared. I'm scared all the time. So that's a normal feeling. You just got to go for it. I'm glad that you're moving forward. Yes. Tell us how it goes. I am more nervous than I should be. I'll do my best. Just embrace the nerves. I know that's easy for me to say, but like I said, I'm scared all the time. Don't be scared. Here's what I learned is that communication with seniors is more important. Yeah, no one knows. No one knows. He's got to figure it out. This is the perfect, I know you want to like grow your development skills. I'm not worried about that with you at all. I'm not worried about that with any of you guys at all. Like I said earlier, work on your communication skills. The best skill that you can develop as a developer is actually learning how to communicate with people so you can kind of get over that fear, right? Develop good relationships with people. Feel comfortable going and talking to people and asking questions when you need it. Trust me, you're going to meet developers, I'm sorry to tell you this now, that are absolute assholes and that are not going to they're not going to make you comfortable, but they're fewer and far between. They exist, But most of the people, if you just develop good communication skills and you develop good professional working relationships with people, it's going to make it so much easier to go and ask for help or to ask questions. That's been my experience. And good night. Thank you for staying up late to hang out with us. And Malik says, true, the communication part, I am fine with. Just be careful I don't break the test or dev site or even the main site. First time actually working on a development process with others. You're ready. You are ready. Trust me. And it is scary, but you can do it. I believe you can do it. So I guess you're going to enjoy that. Trust me. Don't take the stress. Yeah. Here's the other thing that I've learned about breaking websites. It's going to happen at some point in your career. Something's going to break, and it's going to be your fault. Any process that exists where one person can take down a site, that is the fault of the process, not the person. Yeah. Twice I took down the University of St. Thomas, the core main site. Twice that happened, and the associate vice president called me at home at 6 o'clock at night to ask why the site was down. And it was because I made a mistake, and we had to change our process after that, because that is the fault of the process, not one person. If one person can take something down, then the team has to reevaluate how they're pushing things out. So it's tough. It's going to be tough, but it is going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen to you, Malik, because you're an intern. Hopefully they have a process in place. I don't think they're going to turn you loose to push things to production. I think you're going to be fine, but you have to have those experiences, and it's good to be a little bit nervous. You know what it means when you're nervous? It means you do respect the process, and you respect that you know what can happen. When you work with developers who bypass staging or the dev environment and they push locally straight into production and they don't even think twice about it, and those guys exist as well, those are the people you should be worried about. I've worked with a few of those too. So the fact that you understand that there is a best practice for moving from development to production, it means that you understand that there needs to be a process. There needs to be a process or a system to begin with. Mine isn't the one that everybody needs to follow, just that one needs to exist, and it means you respect that process. So that's a good thing. And Nano Kia says companies are at fault for having SPOF. I don't know what SPOF means. SPOF. A single point of failure. Yeah. There is a name for this. One moment, please. I have allergies. One moment. Thank you, Nano Kia, for giving us the official name for this. Let's just read this, because this is absolutely true. The reason I bring that up is because the night that I took down the University of St. Thomas website and the associate vice president called me at home to ask why the site was down, I was obviously horrified, mortified that I had done that. And that was after I had worked there for several years. I wasn't even new. But the people in ITS and the people who back us up and who do our DevOps, they were nothing but kind and helpful to me. And they were like, oh my God, what do you need us to do to help you get this back online? So it wasn't like, Angela, how could you be so careless? How could you be so stupid? It was, what do you need from us? How can we support you? And the developer that I worked with, his name was James, he messaged me the next day, and he was the one who said, I can see how awful you feel, and what you need to remember is that if a process exists where a single person can take a site down, the problem is the process, not the person. He was the first person who ever said that to me. So single point of failure is a critical component within a system such as hardware, software, or personnel that has no backup or redundancy. If this element fails, it causes the entire system to stop functioning. Eliminating a single point of failure is vital for high availability, typically achieved by implementing redundancies like load balancers, backup power, or failover systems. Or I think in the case of development, that you have multiple, you have a good QA process, and you're doing code reviews, and you have a second set of eyes looking at a pull request before you actually click the merge button, right? That's where you avoid a single point of failure. And in the case, what happened at St. Thomas was, well, I don't know if I want to go into too much detail. The single point of failure that we identified at St. Thomas was an actual thing that we were able to implement as just like a backup or a failsafe. Or we basically turned off publishing when we were making major changes to the CMS is what we ended up doing. And that resolved that single point of failure issue that I personally discovered for us. So Rohan is here. Roha Chan is here. Hello. Yes, thank you. I was offline for a full week because my internet was out. So thank you very much. I'm also happy to be back online. Appreciate that. And no one says, in my company, before we merged with the main development branch, we manually test website end to end. Luckily, I have the nicest seniors compared to my country. I'm glad to hear that. I'm very glad to hear that. I worked with a junior, I worked with two, well, I worked with a, before I was a manager, my colleague, my other developer that I worked with, who was a very, very good developer, very talented, also one of the nicest guys I've ever worked with. He often skipped the dev branch. He often regularly pushed from local to production, and it drove me crazy. After he left and I became the manager and I was responsible for hiring a junior developer, I like drilled it into my junior devs process that we always are doing a complete QA. You can't catch everything. You can't, but you can catch a lot if you're thorough, right? So there was always two sets of QAs. Whatever we pushed to dev, we were QAing on dev. And then once we did the merge, we went to production and we did the exact same QA on production for everything that we changed. So once you have a good system in place, you should be able to catch those things. So this is a great single point of failure. This is a great, thank you for bringing this up. So, wow, we're like almost 2.5 hours in. Today was a really good day. I had a lot of fun today. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me, hanging out with me. Do me a favor, if you haven't yet, go ahead and like the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. I would love to have you. I'm here 4 days a week, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm also over on Instagram if you want to come and hang out. My handle is Angela J. Holden. I will make sure I check my black hole of DMs later today because I'm sure there's people in there that I've missed, so apologize for that. And yeah, I don't know. I do post content occasionally. I was lucky enough to acquire the Trader Joe's viral pastel mini totes this past week. That was a fantastic dopamine hit. I loved it. And I posted about that along with some snacky snacks that I picked up at the same time. So, like that's the kind of stuff I post on Instagram. That's why I bring that up. And of course, join us in April for 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. That's the project we're working on now. We're basically building the website that's going to support this project that we are in for the month of April, where I attempt to improve my vanilla JavaScript skills in public. So there's that. Thank you, Malik. I appreciate it. Love having you. Thanks to all the mods that were here today. Christian Codes was here today. No one was here today. Nightbot, as always, was here today. Shohanzar was here. Code X was here. Code X, I'll check that link for the color palette that you sent me. Coding with Moen was here. Leonidas had some amazing questions. Your favorite guy was here. Love that screen name, love that username, and of course Nano Akia. So happy to see you. Hopefully you can come back and hang out with us again, Nano Akia. I love having you here. I personally have learned a lot from you, so it's exciting to see you in the chat. I love seeing familiar faces. Terry Murray was here. And let's see who else was here. I want to make sure that I don't forget anybody. BZX was here. Bazaltan was here. And who else? Roha-chan was here. I think Roha. I tend to abbreviate the username, so forgive me for that. Good evening. Hello. Welcome. I came late, but hopefully I can catch your next stream a little earlier. Yeah, I'll be here tomorrow at 10:30. And yeah. And Heidi. Yeah, Heidi's here. She's right next to me. She's sleeping. Me and Heidi. She always makes an appearance somehow. Usually she's barking or something like that. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I appreciate you all. I love all you fine people. Come back tomorrow. We're going to dive into more styling. Mwah. Have a good one.